everybody, Z Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at Get On Board Paris and Roma. This is a follow-up to the Get On Board New York and London. It has the same idea. It is a game in which you are trying to build routes over 12 rounds or so and trying to get the most victory points by picking up passengers, taking them where they want to go, and making specific combos work out for you, watching out for, various connections or roads that you don't want to go through. This one takes a couple of ideas from the original one and kind of turns them on their head. We'll talk more about that later on. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at how the game works, and we're going to be right back. So here we're taking a look at the game set up for 3 players. We have to play on this side of the board for 1, 2, or 3 players, and it would be the opposite side for 4 or 5 players. Everybody has a color. Everybody is going to get one of these goal cards for the matching side, Rome or Paris on the other side. And then we are also going to randomize these cards up here and place out 2 of them. The other ones are simply removed from the game. And then we are pretty much ready to go with the players having selected one of these starting locations based on a card they're given. So the game's going to be played over 12 rounds, and during those rounds, we are going to flip a card over from this stack here. It's going to show you a number, and everyone is going to have one of these sheets here. You are going to make markings on this and keep track of what you are doing. The card flipped denotes up here what train lines or I guess vehicle lines you are putting out on the board in this one. So for example, let's say this sheet belongs to me. I'm going to put out 2 of these tokens, starting from wherever I left off at the beginning of the game, obviously just from my starting location here, with 1 turn in there. That's what that means. Now these are different. Let's say I ended up getting this one and the opponent to my left here got the next one. For them, that same card might mean 2 straight lines, okay, without a turn. So I might, for example, being the start player, put out this one here like so, and then I have to turn, so perhaps I'll turn there like so. And I will mark on the board here everything I have touched, everything I have traversed. So the various things on the board are the elderly here. I will mark that here, and at the end of the game, I'm going to get victory points summed up equal to all of the passengers I picked up. The students over here, I'm going to mark them as I pass through those. And then these locations, I'll mark them off. It's like a show. And I'm going to multiply how many of these I ended up with by how many of these I ended up with. That's my total there. These are tourists. They want to go to these different locations. I'll pick them up. And when I visit one of these places, I will drop them off and get a number of victory points and then start on the next line. So let's say I picked up 3 of these people, and then I visit the palace there. I'm going to get 9 victory points. I'll write that over here. And the next one I pick up doesn't go in that spot. It begins on the next line, all right? Over here are what they call the flirts. You're picking these people up, and then when you go to one of these locations, it will sum this number over here, which is if you picked up both, then it's 6. And let's say I picked up only one of these 2, that's 2. I'm going to get 8 victory points there. Over here is for these objectives, the first person to complete this, meaning pick up that many people, you are going to get 10 victory points, and then we flip this over. And then this is for visiting 3 of those locations, same thing, then you flip it over, and it's fewer points for anyone who does it from that point on. And then we've also got, this is for visiting the locations that your objective tells you to visit. If you go to those 3 locations, you're going to get 10 points. If you only go to 2 of the 3, you get 5, 2 points. If you only went to 1. And that's generally it. So like I said, you're playing through all 12 rounds. There's 12 cards in here. So I did mine. Their card, their board here tells them it's 2 straight lines. So fine, maybe they do that. And they go there, they pick up a tourist, and then they go there, and they mark off one of these metro symbols. That metro symbol lets you, in the future, in another upcoming round, cross that off and give yourself 1 more of these little sticks. And you always must continue the line that you've been working on. There will be no branching in this game whatsoever. So next round, if we flip over that one, and it's an 8 for me, the 8 for me says I'm putting out 3, and they have to turn after every single one. then perhaps I'll do 1, and I'll do 2, and I'll do, let's say, 3. I have to be careful about doubling back on myself because I eliminate myself from the game. If I go here and then I sort of lock myself in, I'm done. So you want to be mindful of that. And you're also, in this game, trying to cross the paths that other players have already been on. So, for example, let's say, pink or yellow or whoever has made their way over here, and they've got roads that, go all the way over here. If I put a road there, or one of these connections, I should say, then I'm going to, for doing that, cross off one of these spaces down here, and that is going to give me victory points if I do quite a lot of these little dots. There's also a yellow or purple that you select at the beginning of the game and lower player counts, and every time you cross those yellows or purples, you also put a dot on here. So in this game, you want to line up with other people. You want to cross those selected paths and get victory points from doing so. This continues with the turns being very, very quick. We each do that. Then we pass the start player marker. They reveal a card. We each put out, 1 or 2 or 3 of these based on what your sheet says. We keep doing that, marking things off on our sheet, dropping people off, finding, combinations until that deck is exhausted, and then we score the remaining things, a few other things that we score at the end of the game, and we see who has the highest victory points, and that person is the winner in the game. That's pretty much all there is to it. So this game is very much like the original game in many, many ways. And in fact, one of the maybe small negatives against it that I have is that it just might be too similar. Some of these scoring conditions are a little bit different, but it really is an incredibly lateral move, with one thing I can point to as being, in my opinion, of course, decidedly worse. And that is, in the original game, Get On Board New York and London, you are avoiding going through roads that other people have gone through because you are creating traffic. You are creating traffic jams. That is bad. That is victory points that are negative. That makes sense to me. In this one, when you share a road with somebody else, you are marking yourself along that little metro, and that is good. You are getting victory points. And the logic is because passengers have more choices as to which thing they hop on. I don't know. It's not as clearly evident, right? The idea of traffic bad, i.e. negative points, just makes sense. And so I thought that was clever. I like the idea mechanically of taking something I think of as negative in the original game and being like, try to do it. That's cool. I like that concept, but it is not as teachable, unfortunately. And it is second to the party after the first one. The changes here are not revolutionary enough, in my opinion, to make it a game that I would blanket statement recommend. Now, if you don't know either one, then they're both very good. But for me, I'm going to come in a little bit lower on this one than the original one because, well, it's second, and B, I think that one rule really is a little bit worse. So I rate the original Get On Board at strong 8 out of 10. This one's going to get a 7.5. And again, it's because they're almost the same game. So it's almost the same score. It is still getting a seal of approval, though, and I still would happily recommend it and happily play it. In fact, I think for me, it's a good, if you end up getting a copy of both, I would just keep them in the same box. They do fit in the same box, and then you've got sort of more replayability out of one container this size without anything being compatible. Really, it's just sort of two different ways to play. But I am not sure if I would recommend getting both. If you're a huge fan of the system, then maybe that's the way to go. So there you go, 7.5 out of 10 from me, seal of approval, folks, for Get On Board, Paris, and Roma. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Z Garcia. I'm going to see you on the next one.